Alright, what I have here is a game that I recorded in for a 2v2 tournament we did in 2021. I think this was the one Serotonin hosted, but I'm not sure. But anyway, I think it was a best. This was a best out of one, and it was me and Dougie against Floko and Brandon. And yeah, so this will be the last of the old videos. After this, it'll only be like games that I've actually played like recently. This is the last of the videos that I recorded but then never uploaded. And this one in particular, this one had no sound, so that's why I'm recording over it, because when I first recorded this, I didn't record with any sound, so there's no game sound, no nothing. So I thought it would maybe be better if I just talked over it instead. So I'm doing a gender start here. I actually love to do this in tournaments, like no, because normally in games I normally just do standard artillery start armies, but and so everyone expects me to do that in tournaments, and then in tournaments I can sometimes surprise them with like gender starts and stuff. I made some Musk. I guess that's because I maybe like expected the same thing from him. That's like the only reason I can think of that I would make Musk. And this was back when church card was still in. No, so at this point Floko had already stopped using the church card, but I thought that maybe it would still be good because you know the 10% eco buff. I thought because on paper the 10% eco buff should be better should make up for having more expensive buildings. But in practice, the more expensive buildings end up being a huge pain. So even though on paper, like in theory, the church card should be worth it, in practice it actually ends up being better saving the slot and using it on like a unit upgrade or faster artillery. But yeah, the reason my score is so much higher than Floko's in this game is because Floko had already switched to not using church card, but I was like still stubbornly sticking to using the church card. And that's how it is these days. Whenever there's new developments in the meta, I'm always a little behind. And I think it started with ports when I'll just go skip over this pause. That's how it was with ports when people started using horse artillery instead of organ guns. It took me a long time before I stopped being stubborn and started using horse artillery with ports. Although I'm not so slow now. But yeah, that's still normally how it is. Yeah, so I'm leaving one gendarme on the side. I'm making sure that he has no core. He's not hiding any vills on the side. I have one group of gendarmes on the left, one group of gendarmes on the right. That it's always better than just balling up the cav in one group. Moving up my vills. I'm gonna send cheaper nats. I guess I can look at what I sent. Okay, so this is very strange because I did send I'm doing a cav start and yet I didn't send a cav combat. That's very strange. Like if you're doing a cav start, you always want to send cav combat as France. And yeah, he did the same gendarme start, but also with horse artillery and colves. I think mine didn't have horse artillery and colves. The goons idle, that's a huge mistake. A long time with the goons not firing. Also could have meleeed some musk, and I see my grenadiers running into his gendarmes and getting meleeed. But even though I fucked up the execution, it looks like the fight went okay-ish, at least for me, because my start army is just bigger because I had the church card. But I should be sniping down horses. Should have sniped down some horse artillery with the goons. Now it's too late because his reinforcing gendarmes are here. Those towers are just gonna die. Yeah, not a fan of how I played this start fight. My embassies are very far back, which is weird. So yeah, that went insanely well for Floko actually, because he actually survived the start fight, and now he has just 4 horse artillery that can fire freely. And yeah, this is the DE lag. This is just I, I think most players have to deal with this. Some players don't. Some players have very good modern computers, and they don't get this lag, but most of us do. So I was quick on like making reinforcing calls, which is good, because you can't just let horse artillery fire freely. Here, like whenever I'm moving the cursor back and forth like that, it means I'm getting really frustrated with the lag. Like it's just like, let me play the game. And then, oh, and this was on a patch where you had to build embassies with your explorers, because they couldn't fit the embassy on the grid icon with the vills. So yeah, and I built my foundries very far forward, so it's hard, I can't really move back, and I'm just getting blasted by horse artillery. We'll see how this coal fight goes, but it's an awkward position, and he could probably easily get gendarmes on top of those coals, so I think I'm gonna take a very bad trade here. Yep, he gets a free double shot because of the awkward position, and I'm just lagging my ass off here. Dropping into 160 pop. Um, and he's doing a good job at making sure I don't get any towers up. I've been trying to place towers, but he's always killing the vills, and I've only managed to get one tower up. And the ideal place for towers is on the flanks, not in the middle, because you want room to move your artillery. One thing, so it is good, and this is very important with France. Every time you lose a vill, you have to replace it immediately, because if you don't, then you might end up having food or wood problems. It can be hard to, even with full vill pop, it can be hard. So you always want to stay at full vill pop. And I'm doing a good job replacing the vills, but what I'm not doing good here is I let myself get overrun by gendarmes. I should keep more goons and gendarmes of my own out, and my natives. Where are my natives? Because it looks like I don't have my full native pop out, and he definitely does. Okay, that horse artillery. My horse artillery is in a good spot there. It's outside of the cold range. Still can shoot at the skirms. Should probably start moving it further away now. I lost all the coals. Yeah, move it back then. But yeah, you can see it's sort of already looking rough for me at this point. I'm 50 points down here, and I'm going to be using the old legacy system for scores, even though it literally says like 212,000, not 2,120. I'm still going to be using the legacy system for scores, because that's just what my brain is used to. And I'll just ignore the last 2 digits. And yeah, and I mentioned food problems, and my food is already down to 5k. That's probably just because of inefficient trading. Right now, I only have 3 goons, and Floko has been using quite a bit of gendarme this game, although he doesn't have any out right now. You see me trying to get towers up on the sides. I think I need more gendarmes out here, since he also only has 3 goons out. And there's like the lag again, and you can see I did the thing moving the cursor back and forth, which I do when I get frustrated about lag. A stable on each flank, that's good. So what I do now is I don't make a stable in the middle. I just make stables on the sides, and then I have each side stable on a separate hotkey. But yeah, what I did back then is I would have the center stable on the hotkey, and then I would just manually make cav from the side stables if I ever wanted cav on the to come from the sides instead. Terrible cold fight. Yeah, that was awful. Score difference is 100 in favor of Floko, which means it's actually more in favor of Floko because because of the church card. Yeah, I mean, Floko just always seems to have more units than me in this game. I can't believe how hard it was lagging for me. I don't know why. Yeah, Floko is 5 horse artillery, and it's in range of my infantry. I have only two horse artillery, and right now they're not really in range of anything. Yeah, and Floko's really good at doing this, keeping the horse artillery like safe, but also getting a lot of value out of them. It's a hard thing to do because you usually either keep them too safe or you end up setting them too far forward and they die. But he seems to know when to shove them in your face and when to move them back. So my Colving was not up to par this game. It seems like the past 3 fights I've just gotten wrecked. Here I finally move back a bit. But again, another one of the reasons I can't move back that much is I built my FB very far forward because I expected to push him back a lot with the start fight, but then the start fight went so badly for me. So now I end up fighting right in front of my FB with not much room to move Kolbs and not much room to go back if he has gendarmes or horse art out. So leads to worse trades. I think I had too many goons out there. Yeah, too many goons. You want like 5 to 10, and 10 is like the max, as in they're making a lot of gendarmes. Assuming it's high level. I mean, in lower level you might have someone who makes 30 gendarmes at once, in which case you might want 20 goons. But then but like at the highest level don't ever make that many gendarmes, so you don't want more than 10. Right. So this one, I got gendarmes on his Kolbs on both sides, so I think I would at least clean up the Kolbs here. Only one horse artillery, so I would say in natives, if it's a full like straight up natives fight, you should always have 3 horse artillery out minimum. And you can even go up to 5, like Floko's just been sitting on 5 all game, and like the same 5 because he never fucking loses it. He just keeps that same 5 alive and uses it and still gets value out of it. But yeah, you should have like 3 minimum at all times if it's a natives fight and it's straight up. And I only have 1. I'm making another now though. Now this is definitely too many goons. I have 20 goons out right now. And yeah, he's not even making that many gendarmes. Like he'll make like 5 sometimes. I don't know why I went so hard on the goons at this point. So this is a 5 versus 6 cold fight, and I got some pretty lucky shots, but I'm still gonna lose it, I think. Yeah. If you have less coals, then just don't take the fight. Unless your opponent really messes up and like sends 4 forward and then has like 4 in the back, and then you can take the fight. But in general, more stuff beats less stuff, so if you have less coals, don't take the fight if you can help it. Sometimes you can't help it, but in that case I could have. So Floko finally lost horse artillery. He's had like the same 5 firing all game, and then one just there, one died. But yeah, this was a nearly perfect game for Floko in terms of Kolv plus horse artillery control. He didn't really make any mistakes this game. So I'm meleeing the horse artillery with my explorer, and yeah, that can be annoying for him. It can be a good thing to do, since I think on DE, like, it used to be that if you buy back the explorer, it'll be in ranged mode even if it was in melee mode before, but now it remembers what mode it was in before when you revive it. So yeah. But I don't think I would do that now, because then he can just shoot it with horse artillery pretty easily and then just get the free 200 coin when I revive it. And reviving is very expensive. You would only melee with, I think I would only melee with the explorers like during a cold fight. Okay, so here I'm taking a good cold fight though. That's the advantage of having Foundry so close, is that sometimes you might just suddenly pop up with a bunch of coals. But yeah, if you can choose, you want the Foundries further back. You'd rather have the Foundries further back every time. Because you can see I lost like 10 coal fights and here I won one. And that was bad use of the gendarmes, just right on top of the natives. And then when he had the horse artillery out too, I should have pulled back earlier. What else? But this is another part of the game where he still should probably make more gendarmes, because he has no goons out. It's only scrims and natives, so yeah, having 10 gendarmes out should be good. And that was, he had 8 colves and I had 7, and I chose to take the fight. So yeah, it's obviously gonna go bad for me. 6 horse art, I mean, why not? His colving has been pretty good for them, pretty immaculate for the most part. I think the explorer killed a horse artillery there though, that was pretty funny. I don't know why I stayed there for so long. I think that probably lost me 50 points. After I lost the coal fight, I just stood there and tried to like kill his artillery, and tried to kill his artillery, I guess. I don't know. Now I'm out of food and wood too. So at this point the game was looking pretty dire for me. And there's random 5 strublets there for some reason from his teammate. But things are going, and yeah, and I'll say things are going well for my teammate. He hasn't drained it since the start of this game. And my teammate also has the full map control, and when you have full map control, it gives you a lot of freedom in how you want to play. Like, you can like run if you want, you can play straight up if you want. Basically, they have to react to you if you have the map control. It's like you don't have to use it, but when it's there, like your opponent, it's just like very, you have a lot of freedom. And your opponent always has to watch it and make sure you're not gonna push his base. Anyway. 3 Colbs versus 4. What are we doing? Oh man. Yeah, I keep seeking fights with lower Colv numbers in this game. So there's this weird Oprishnik and Cossack will run by. It's not going to do anything though, because I had goons there, and it just wasn't a very well executed run by. I feel like it was drag boxed with slower units or something. Man, that was funny. And oh, so this is a good example of what I'm talking about, of how annoying the more expensive buildings can be, because I'm going to lose my FB here and I have to rebuild it now. And yeah, I have to ask for wood because, well, I was already out of wood, but also because rebuilding the FB is just way more expensive when you have the church card. But what I'm doing here is, you know, at least a pretty good reaction to getting owned, I'll say. So like, I'm like pulling back, letting him kill my FB, and then just trying to get the best camp possible in my choke by getting wall flanks up and towers up. But Floko's gonna push in pretty quickly here. So I'll have to hurry if I want to get them all up in time. Floko's going too far with his horse right here. I hope I took advantage of this. I feel like I could have focused down some if I just took like a group of, you know, like scrims and goons in the center there. Okay, he at least lost some. It's always the worst when you're getting owned and then still have to deal with lag too. Yeah, I don't know why it was so bad this game, but it hasn't been this bad for me in the games I've played recently, except in like some 3v3s. Now there's a random 50 musks, so yeah. If you want to double with your teammate, you should double with units that'll be useful, and musk here aren't really that useful. It would have been better if like he's doubled with Cossacks and mortars, I guess. But Russia's just not a civ that's very good for doubling, I think. But especially not with muskets. Muskets aren't what you want to make. Like, Russia's good at running and then like flanking, and but like in team fights they're probably not that good anymore. They were good on Treaty Patch when Strelitz had like a big range buff, but not on DE for sure. And I mentioned that because the video I uploaded a couple days ago was one where we got crushed by Russia in a team fight. So yeah, just pulling back and trying to salvage the situation, and I did get the towers up and the walls up. I hope I won't. Okay, no, it's 6 Colts versus 6, so taking a fight would actually be okay. You can probably just let the embassies die, because when you're this close to your natives, making them from posts isn't the end of the world. Well, apparently he got in. I don't think he killed any factories this game. I think I would remember if he had managed to kill a factory this early. I see a bunch of blue in like the center of the map. I hope that wasn't like idle units or something. Oh, wait, he did kill a factory. Wow. That's amazing. Oh, they're just the Hurons. So my towers died, and so the waypoint got reset to my home city, to my town center. So yeah, that's what happened. And that's annoying because I can't just send them that way, so I have to like shift click them all the way back around. And now, like, getting blasted by his horse artillery, my horse artillery is in the back in range of nothing. Okay, that was good on the Coles. But then I, like, took a very awkward fight after that. And he still had more Coles. So, like, the initial double shot was good, but I probably should have gone back or, like, repositioned my Coles after that. But anyway, yeah, this is probably the most important thing I have to work on. It looks like the story of, feels like the story of all my games versus Floko is the difference in amount of value my horse artillery gets and then the amount of value his gets. It was especially bad this game, but like every game, it's like night and day. Just need to like remember to move it up when my coals are moving up and then like actually target batches of infantry. But yeah, anyway. Now I don't have enough foundries, so I can't do like can't do like the coals from more than one foundry at one time. Need to switch bills to wood. Oh, see, like, I don't really blame myself for this coal fight because of that little lag spike. Oh, and it looks like I won it anyway. Oh no, I lost it, but yeah, the lag spike just fucks everything up. Like here, like he has no coal, so my horse artillery should be like up just right behind my infantry. My horse artillery should be in his face by now. It should not just be sitting back now that I've won a coal fight. I'm better, I think I'm like focused, I'm like a bit better at that now, but like still not ideal. Like this game was a year ago. And I have noticed that mistake and more since then. Another thing I should have done here is train a mortar. Kill some of the towers. And again, there's like I feel like there's too many goon and not enough gendarme. He has no anti-cav. I had no reason not to just make like 10 gendarmes here. More coals beat less coals. There's another example. I don't know. Yeah, I kept taking fights with less coals. Okay, but here I'm making a good number of gendarme though. And you're gonna see him have to move, and then I pull back. Yeah, I guess I had to pull back because he has horse artillery out and I have no corps, so... Yeah, I finally did make more gendarmes, but it was at the wrong... It was like too late then. I think I moved some villas to wood, yeah, just then, but yeah, looking away for too long, I lost 2 horse artillery. It's less looking away for too long and more like when you look away, like, you should make sure all your stuff is safe before looking away, because even in those 2 seconds, if you look away at the wrong time, then you might end up losing a lot. But overall, I'm surprised at how few goons Floko makes. Like, he had 0 goon, and then I like made a wave of gendarme, and he just went up to 5 goon, and that's it. Okay, so here there's just 1 ball of Cossack. It's gonna run up. And here's one of the things that I hate to see the most when people do cav. When people make a lot of cav, like either for start fighter in general. He walked through the army. You don't walk through your opponent's units if you want to do a cav start army or you make a lot of cav. You don't walk through your opponent's units. You kill your opponent's units first. If you want to kill artillery, then you like break 5 off and use those to hit the artillery. But if you're making a big ball of cav, you don't move the entire ball of cav through your opponent's units. Because otherwise they'll just die without attack. They'll like spend several seconds taking fire without attacking. And in this case it was even worse because Floko had Nats out in a good spot. But yeah, it's not how you use big balls of cav. But with that said, I can't criticize him too much this game. You'd be biting the hand that feeds you, literally. These Cossacks are so bad though, I can't help it. What is this? He lost every single Cossack. Oh my god. Like, he fed me this. He like saved me this game and fed me, but like oh, that's like even worse than Queen of Destiny Cossacks. Like, it's like some of the worst. Like, Queen usually like at least would kill something there. Oh. Yeah, okay. But yeah, enough of that. So something I've started doing now is I have 2 corps in a control group, and I mean 2 foundries in a control group instead of just 1 foundry for you. Instead of 3 groups of 1 foundry, it's 1 group of 2 foundries and then 1 group of 1 foundry. And yeah, so the main reason for that is to save a control group and because you want to be able to make corps from 2 foundries. And yeah, part of the reason I keep getting out Cove to this game is because I keep just making Coves from 1 foundry. And yeah, taking a fight with 5 versus 8, but he wasn't set up properly, so I actually get to kill 2 for 3 there. Yeah, this is an insane fight for me considering that I was, he had more there. And yeah, so Brandon answers Dougie's Cossacks with a big ball of musk. Oh, I didn't play the rest of the coal fight well though. That's a little sad because it had such a good start. No, I'm gonna back off. That's a bad time to run Nats up. You know, he just targets his horse artillery on that and they'll be gone in like 2 seconds. Plus I'm getting doubled there, so yeah, very bad time to run the Nats up. I kill one Cove, but that's just not worth it. Yeah, the Musk are at least suiciding. So at this point, we do have a score advantage because of how the fight outside the Nats is going. But yeah, I am definitely better now at keeping like the number of Colbs that I need, getting out the number of Colbs that I need. But you can see this game I was really struggling to have good numbers of Colbs out. Well, also I'm out of coin at this point. Trying to get my skirms there to help out the Cossacks against the natives. Another thing I should have done more this game is just use gendarme flanks on his artillery. Like now, like even just 2 gendarmes with the area damage, you can do a lot of damage by setting them on his artillery, and it's much more difficult to deal with than it is to execute. I've always been of the opinion that Huss flanks in general, Cav flanks, are way more easy to do than they are to deal with, and they feel really annoying as a result. So that last Cossack wave was actually pretty decent. And it looks like we are gonna push them back here. Floko immediately replaces the lost horse artillery, getting another batch of 5. And like I have to back off here, but I'm not backing off. Like I'm just gonna get shredded by this horse artillery. Yeah, I really needed to back off a bit there. I don't think Floko was feeding him. It's more like I was getting fed by Dougie. Yeah, he might have. I mean, I'm sure that maybe I'll check maybe we'll see in the post-game graphs. I don't remember if I checked them or not. I think I was hoping for a double shot there, but didn't quite get it. I mean, there's only so many times I can say more Colbs beat less Colbs. At least, yeah. And this is like, he has natives on it, and I still managed to kill a Colb. Although granted, it was at like half HP. This horse artillery is gonna be brutal. Yeah. But then Floko steps too far forward here, so I kill a bunch. Yeah, that was nice. At least. And it timed out well with the Nuka when his horse artillery overstepped. Yeah, I mean, it's harder to talk when I'm just sitting here watching. I mean, it's kind of hard, and also, it's been a while. But yeah. So yeah, this is the point where it started to become more clear that we were gonna win the game. Or it started to feel that way. Yeah, still too many goons on my end. I still don't understand how Floko makes his stuff work with, makes this army work with, so like, he has no goons out right now. I guess I just wasn't making enough gendarmes, or not consistently enough to force the goons. Another thing is that France goons are like not that great, so you want to avoid making them if you can. Like using gendarme as your anti-cav is probably better than using goons as anti-cav in like in like a scrim fight situation. But yeah, I think you still should feel forced to make 5 to 10 goons in a France mirror if your opponent is making enough. If your opponent is making like the right amount of gendarmes. Like Huminkas are not, like Huminka should not be sufficient anti-cav, I don't think. But anyway. Probably gonna drain here. I'm just looking at that 5 horse artillery. And also I'm out of food. Yeah. The horse artillery will probably get insane value here. Yeah, losing all my infantry. Man, I really needed to just go back there. Yeah, I think at this point maybe I hadn't like mastered the ungroup cold micro, which is why I didn't feel comfortable making a lot of calls. Yeah, I wouldn't blame myself for this cold fight either. Looks like I won it anyway. Nope. 6 was artillery. Yeah. I guess Floko was trying to go into ultra value mode in order to try to come back. Like the best way to drain your opponent really, like to drain your opponent really hard and get the best value possible is to make a ton of horse artillery and protect it. And get good shots with it. But then we have Dougie. Floko reacts immediately. He blocks it with the gendarmes and the Huminka. This time, Dougie should at least kill one horse artillery, right? Like, I think one will die. Those 10 mesks from Brandon are, like, not even needed there. Yeah, Floko just, yeah, one horse artillery and that's it. And then I think I killed another with, like, a cold shot or something. No, I messed up with the horse artillery there. But yeah, I mean the big waves of Cossack just running through anti-cav like that, it just doesn't work. Especially not like when Floko reacted immediately. But despite all that, the game is still looking good for us at this point. I don't really know what happened out of that, but yeah, Dougie was just on top of things there. Another brutal trade. Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say. Just this game, I was making pretty, some pretty basic mistakes that are easy to fix, and then a couple that are not so easy. So the easy to fix mistake is just to have more corps out, have more horse artillery out, at least 3 at all times, make less goons, make more gendarmes. Those are the easy mistakes. The harder mistake is the thing I mentioned earlier, where he just gets way more value out of his horse artillery than I get out of mine. That's something that needs, that, like, that's something I need to practice more. I needed to, and I still need to, because, yeah. So, and I think, and also, like, pulling back when his horse artillery is firing freely. I think the reason I'm not good at that is because like, before Floko got really good, there would never really were any players that would get that much value out of their horses or artillery. Like, most players wouldn't babysit them much. Like, they would make them, but then they wouldn't micro them much. They wouldn't move them around much, and basically it was much easier to deal with, and I wouldn't lose so much of my army to it. But Floko is active enough with his that if I'm not careful, I lose, like, gigantic balls of infantry, and I'm not used to having to be that careful because I'm not used to playing versus players that are that active with horse artillery until now. Like, the only thing comparable would be like King Onage's heavy cannons from back in the day. But even that was still easier to deal with than like Floko's horse artillery. That's a good punishment for Floko overstepping with Colves. I think he was just drained here though. Yeah, we'll probably see GG soon. Should we're both drained. I should just chill here because it looks obvious that I should just chill here, and because it looks like eventually Dougie will break in. I can't do much when I'm drained. And yeah, I'm building a stable in the center. It looks like I'll just try to break in through Dougie's side. Even though my score is higher, it's inflated by the church card. So it's actually, so the actual resource counts are probably not that far different. And then Floko has like the defender's advantage here. Like even though it's in my choke, the player who's like camping or defending basically has the defender's advantage. Now we're just watching, I'm trying to push his FB back, but I know that I'm not going to be able to like break that position in that, so I'm going in the middle to try to end the game now. Yeah, I think that whenever I see like Cav, especially if it goes towards my artillery, I have like a reflexive reaction to make goons, but in Nats I should really chill with that because it's I don't need that many goons. And especially with France, where like gendarmes are probably the better anti-cav than goons. Or like almost better. Obviously goons are better anti-cav, but like it's not like a huge difference between goons and gendarmes. I think I executed that a little sloppily actually. I should have pulled back in the nats earlier and maybe even made a couple walls in the nats, given what my plan was, but yeah, Floko's too drained to push, so it'll be fine either way. It's much more difficult to push if you're drained. It's like harder to afford the anti-cav you need, and you need to build mortars, which obviously cost resources. And like if you're low on resources, it's really hard to afford mortars. But I should pull back because I can't even make much in the middle because I'm just losing stuff in the nats and then having to rebuild stuff in nats. So I guess I can start to explain now. Like this is why. So this is why a lot of top players don't really like 2v2 tournaments. Like, this win didn't really feel deserved for me. You can see I got destroyed all game and then got carried by my teammate. And then on Floko's end, it's also frustrating because he played a near perfect game in Nats and then still has to lose. So this is why a lot of us don't really like 2v2 tournaments. Because a lot of times, like, the tournament organizers will, because in every tournament we've had basically, except for like one, except for like that Hidden Cup tournament, which I posted videos of, they always try to balance the teams by putting tier 1 players with tier 2 players, and it ends up being unfair to the good players, to like the best player, because they want to pair the best player with like the worst player basically to make it fair. And you can see the results of that, like how much Dougie was able to feed me and still run over his opponent. But like at the same time, the reason 2v2 tournaments are hosted like that, I mean, are organized like that, is because if they weren't, then there would only be like 2 or 3 teams that have a chance, that have even like a remote chance of winning, and no one else would even have a chance. So yeah, that's the reason why they force the good players to team with less good players. But yeah, like, I don't think there's been a single 2v2 treaty tournament where the actual best player at the time got to win the tournament. Thanks for carry, obviously. And yeah, I will say the skill gap between me and Floko increased once DE released. Like, you can see like on the videos from 2020, I could play close games against Floko. I also got destroyed sometimes, but I would also have close games, or I would even win sometimes. Oh man, yeah, that fed differential. Yeah, I'm like showing you in the video. I got rolled pretty badly. But yeah, the skill difference between me and Floko increased once DE came out, basically. On Legacy, I could play a lot of close games against him. But once DE came out, it felt nearly impossible to beat him. And that was partly him improving, partly me not playing as much. But yeah, what a legendary game. So yeah, that's the legend of how Dougie carried me, and we got to win a 2v2 tournament. So yeah, I'll try to do one video a day. And, also, we'll see if I can actually do that for the month of June.